All right, so today we're doing a little refresher on special right triangles. So starting with the 45, 45, 90 triangle, we also think of that as an isosceles right triangle because we have two angles, two base angles that are the same. So here we also then have two legs that are the same. So the two legs we think of as x, and then the hypotenuse is always going to be x root 2. We will always see this relationship play out for any isosceles right triangle, any 45, 45, 90. And we're going to need to remember all of this information when we get back into trig later on in Algebra 2. So if we know a leg and we're getting to a hypotenuse, we are multiplying by the square root of 2. And if we're going in the opposite direction, if we're going from a hypotenuse back to a leg, we're dividing out the square root of 2, and sometimes we rationalize the denominator, get the root out of the bottom. Okay, when it's a 30, 60, 90 triangle, we have a 30-degree angle, a 60-degree angle, and a 90. So opposite the smallest angle is the smallest side. So that short leg we call x. Right, that is our short leg. And then the middle angle is opposite the middle side. This is our longer leg. This always ends up being x times the square root of 3. And then opposite the right angle is always the largest side. That's our hypotenuse, and that's 2x. So if I know what x is, then I'm going to multiply by root 3 to get the longer leg, and then multiply by 2 to get the hypotenuse. But if I start with that longer leg, then I need to divide by root 3 to get to that short leg, and then rationalize the denominator. And then once I have that value, right, I double it to get to the hypotenuse. All right, let's practice. All right, so first a whole set of 45, 45, 90s. So again, the two legs are both x, and the hypotenuse is x root 2. I'm just going to label it for both of the triangles. Legs are x. Here's the x root 2 for this row. So then I know that in this triangle, my leg is 6, so my other leg is also 6. And then if I take 6 and I multiply root 2, it's just 6 root 2. Easy peasy. Okay, and if I look at this next one, I'm giving you the hypotenuse is 6. That's our x root 2 side. So I know to go from here to here, I really have to divide by root 2 and then rationalize. Sometimes it's easier to think of, well, x root 2, this x root 2 side is equal to 6. Make an equation and then solve. Oh, x root 2 equals 6. Let me write that clearly. Okay, so x root 2 is equal to 6, and I want to solve for x. So I'm going to divide each side by the square root of 2. Right, so it's now 6 divided by square root of 2. And then we rationalize. We multiply by root 2 over root 2, because anything over itself is 1, and it preserves the ratio. So now I have 6 root 2 divided by 2, and then that 6 divided by 2 ends up being 3 root 2. So my missing legs, they end up both being the same thing. They're both 3 root 2. Let's say that I wanted to double check. I could always take that 3 root 2 multiplied by root 2. That's 3 times 2. That gets me back to 6. So you can always double check. You could also plug back into Pythagorean theorem and make sure that you've solved correctly, right? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. All right, next row. So here again, these are 45, 45, 90s. The two legs are the same, and the hypotenuse is x root 2. Let me label it for everything. All right, so here the other leg has to be 6 root 3. And then down here, if I take that 6 root 3 and I multiply by root 2, that's going to be 6 times root 6. right? That 3 and 2 combine and multiply underneath the root. So I end up with 6 root 6 for my hypotenuse. Okay, over here, x root 2 is equal to 6 root 3. So again, if I do that same strategy, let's say I build an equation, x root 2 equals 6 root 3. Divide out the root 2, and then rationalize, multiply by root 2 over root 2. Now we have 6 root 6 on top divided by 2, right? Root 2 times root 2 is just 2. So now I can take this 6 and divide by this 2, and I end up with 3 root 6. So my legs are both 3 root 6. Okay, on to the 30, 60, 90s. And I'll do the whole row again. My short leg, right, my shortest side is x. The longer leg is x root 3. The hypotenuse is 2x. Short leg is x. Longer leg is x root 3. Hypotenuse is 2x. Short leg is x. Longer leg is x root 3. Hypotenuse is 2x. All right, so if I go back to that first one right here, I'm giving you the short leg to start. That's 6. So if I multiply by root 3, the longer leg is just 6 root 3. And then 6 doubled, 6 times 2 is just 12. Hypotenuse is 12. Okay, this next one, I'm giving you the hypotenuse is 6. So if 2x is equal to 6, then x must be 3. So that short leg must be 3. And then I multiply by root 3, and that longer leg must be 3 root 3. All right, last variation here. I'm giving you that longer leg is 6, and that's the x root 3 side. So I can say that x root 3 is equal to 6. And then from here, I divide out the root 3. Okay, then I rationalize. I multiply by root 3 over root 3. So now I have 6 root 3 divided by 3. And then that 6 divided by 3 is just 2. Ends up being 2 root 3. So x right here is 2 root 3. And then if I double it to get to the hypotenuse, that is 4 root 3. All right, we should be good there. One more row. So again, I'm going to start off the same way. I'm going to label my short leg, my longer leg, and my hypotenuse. So here's my x, x root 3, 2x, and then I'll do it the whole row. So x, x root 3, 2x, x, x root 3, 2x. All right, so here x is 6 root 2, so I need to multiply by root 3. So 6 root 2 times root 3. Again, if I multiply roots, I multiply the radicands, the numbers that are underneath. So that just makes 6 root 6. And then 6 root 2 times 2, right, that's just 12 root 2. Okay, over here, I'm giving you the hypotenuse is 6 root 2. That's the 2x side. So if I divide the 6 root 2 by 2, I get 3 root 2 right here for the short leg. And then if I multiply that by root 3, right, 3 root 2 times root 3, I get 3 root 6. Okay, one more variation. So here I'm giving you the longer leg, that's the x root 3 side, and that is 6 root 2. So x root 3 equals 6 root 2. I want to divide out that root 3. Okay, then I rationalize. So I multiply by root 3 over root 3, and I get 6 root 6 over 3. But that 6 and that 3 reduce to make 2 root 6. So right here, that short leg is 2 root 6, and then I double it to get to that hypotenuse, which must be 4 root 6. All right, Have a good day.